Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar about the BMW STEP program and the lessons that CTE and STEM programs and equivalent programs in Northern Virginia could learn from it. I'm Dale Medeiros, and I work as a Senior Regional Planner for the Northern Virginia Regional Commission, the NVRC. We are a regional council of governments that represent the 13 counties, cities, and towns, and the 2.5 million people of Northern Virginia. For decades, NVRCs prioritized a special form of international engagement. That engagement relies on transferring policy and technical innovations from overseas with outcomes that benefit the communities of Northern Virginia. NVRC relies on partnerships such as these webinars with our region's schools, community colleges, and now especially their career technical education and STEM programs and business partners like BMW. Today, we're focusing on the topic of workforce development and the ways that programs developed to support the careers of auto technicians at Northern Virginia schools could be informed by the work of firms such as BMW and the STEP program. But we're also interested in looking at ways in which the BMW STEP program might be a portal through which the world-class German apprenticeships and pieces of the dual system could find some modest but suitable and meaningful applications. Here to share the work with these two themes is Bob Witte of BMW, Chris Martini of Arlington County Schools, and Laura Garcia of the Northern Virginia Community College. Thank you guys so much for being here to help us out with this. I'd like to read the bios of our panelists because they're so impressive. Bob is the military and STEP recruiting manager for BMW in North America. He has been in the automotive industry for 45 years, having started working on cars with his dad doing side jobs on Saturday mornings, which inspired him to continue in his father's footsteps and become an automobile technician. Bob joined BMW of North America in 1979 as a technician after graduating from high school. Over the years, Bob has held various jobs at BMW, all focused on after sales, including roles with warranty, parts, field representation, and soft skills training management. In his current role as the military and STEP recruiting manager, Bob is responsible for recruiting students to 3 BMW training programs: automotive, body and paint, and the military CSP programs on Fort Bragg and Camp Pendleton in California. Bob holds a degree in psychology, which has aided him in both the training and recruiting fields. He has a passion in working with young people, assisting their growth and development, and he is an avid skier and alpine racing coach, as well as an outdoorsman. Bob is married, 2 children, and 2 grandchildren. Chris Martini has worked for Arlington Public Schools for 31 years as a teacher, supervisor, and presently is the director of the Office of Career Technical Education and Adult Education. The Office of Technical and Adult Education links education and career skills for the creation of lifelong learning opportunities for the students of Arlington County. The office coordinates and provides educational services along a continuum that begins with awareness, building, provides ongoing opportunities for the community to voice its needs, and provides access to educational programs that empower students to acquire the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to manage change and succeed in a diverse technical society. Chris graduated from Millersville University in Pennsylvania with a degree in industrial arts education. He has a master's degree in curriculum instruction and education leadership from George Mason University. And Laura Garcia is currently program head for automotive and collision curricula at the Northern Virginia Community College in Alexandria. Laura has a AAS in automotive technology, is an ASCE master, an L1 advanced engine performance, an L3 hybrid electric vehicle technician. Laura has 6 years of industry experience as an assistant manager and Ford technician. She taught for over 11 years at the Northern Virginia Community College System. Guys, thanks so much for being with us again. Chris, can I just add you to give some insight about your program, maybe a bit about the study tour before we turn it over to Bob?
Sure. Thank you, Dale. We had an opportunity to visit Germany and see about the dual enrollments, the dual system, I should say, over in Germany and the program that they had. And it was really kind of beneficial for me to really see firsthand how the apprenticeship and the training and the process worked. Here in Arlington, we have an automotive program, and we're part of the AYS program, and I was looking at how we could go ahead and maybe tweak that a little bit and see how we could then kind of move it into the dual system. One of the things that we've been doing with our work-based learning coordinators is we've been using some of these opportunities to start the apprenticeship program. And we started actually with Amazon. So Amazon has taken our students for the last few years. What they've done is they started with just an externship program and built it into a longer, actually, apprenticeship, which is a 2-year apprenticeship. So we use that as a model. We're also working with a couple of other industries just to start to get to get parents to start to see the value of an apprenticeship program. Dale shared with me some information about the BMW STEP program. And so I was looking at that and really looking at how we might be able to kind of work, having students kind of move in from maybe our program over into the STEP program. So I was really excited about this opportunity and to really hear a little bit more about the BMW STEP program. We also worked with Laura, with some of our students actually coming over to get an associate degree, because we see that further education is really important instead of a student just going right out from high school into a dealership, but continuing their education so that they have some type of a degree or certification that they can go ahead and use and kind of build on with their education. So hopefully that will give everybody an idea of kind of where Arlington is, and hopefully we'll be able to hear a little bit more from Bob as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. Before I turn things over to Bob, I would like to just go over a couple of housekeeping issues. If you have any questions, please park them into the question and answer, and we'll do our best to get to them chronologically. Please send me a note in the chat box if you really would like me to unmute you and you want to ask the question in person to our panelists. And we hope to wrap everything up before 1 o'clock. Bob, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Dale. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. So I'm going to go through our automotive STEP program. And we talk about the duality of what's happening in Germany and what's happening here in the States. What I'll do is I'll try and give you as much information through the presentation. If you have questions, please, I'll be happy to answer them at the end. So Dale, next slide, please. So what is STEP? For those who are not familiar, STEP is our service technician education program. It's a 6-month-long program where our students actually work in a live workshop environment in one of our national workshops, which is important to us because at BMW, we believe the best way to learn about BMW is actually on a BMW and not a school car. And why we've kind of moved away from the school car approach is we want the technicians, as they come through the program, to be familiar with objective-based learning and real-world learning, because that's the feedback we've received from our dealers. It's great if you bug a car, but if they never see that bug in the real world, they'll never know how to fix what's happening in the real world. So that's why we put them in a live workshop environment where their instructor is also their shop foreman. So while they're working on the cars, their instructor is with them. They learn with the instructor on the vehicle. And it's 90% hands-on. So if you look at their typical work week, or it's 5 days a week, it's 4 days in the workshop, and then 1 day in the training center going over questions and answers and all the things that they saw that week that they need some clarity on. When we do take on STEP students, they're hired as temporary employees at BMW. So while they're with us, they're compensated for their time. And we might be one of the few programs out there that actually pays students to learn. So next slide, please. So a little bit about what they'll learn while they're in the STEP program. As you said, it's a live hands-on environment. They'll learn how to use the BMW diagnostic systems, how to look up repair instructions, wiring diagrams, how to research information. They'll also learn about the warranty policy and how to correctly fill out a repair order for warranty. They'll learn about PPE, and anybody who's been to Germany, Chris and Dale, the Europeans are very much into personal protection and using the right equipment. So, and also how to utilize the MSDS sheet. So it's kind of like a crash course in being out in the real world. Next slide. Moving on with what they'll learn, BMW maintenance and light repair, how to do it the BMW way, utilizing repair instructions, what special tools they'll need to use and what special tools in general they'll need, throughout their career, how to work on service actions, recalls, what have you. And again, it's all repair-based fundamental teaching. They'll also go into electrical and HVAC systems, utilization of the multimeter, our IMIB tool, which is an interface tool that connects between the diagnostic system and the vehicle. They'll be able to locate schematics and wiring diagrams. One of the big things is we find with our students coming in, learning how to do voltage drops and work on migrant draws. And then obviously HVAC system fundamentals, repair and inspections. Next slide. So they'll also go into chassis dynamics, from brake systems to alignment and suspension. They'll move into drivetrain systems, which is interesting. Until recently, we've kind of avoided EV because it was the way technical training had it set up. It was more for the master level when they'd start seeing more EV components and actually working on e-vehicles. But as our population of e-vehicles has exploded, so has the need for more technicians to learn about EV. So while they're in STEP, they'll be introduced to electric vehicles, how to lock out the battery, how to work on electrical components, and actually how to service the battery. We actually have a serviceable battery. So rather than replacing the entire battery pack itself, we could actually crack that open, identify the failed cell, and just replace the failed cell, put the battery lid back on, and put it back into the vehicle without a lot of expense towards warranty and or if it were retail, dealing with the cost of a customer having to pay for the battery pack. So we're just starting to integrate that now. We're integrating it at a lower level program that we teach at UTI because we see the value in EV and having more technicians trained in e-vehicles as our population increases. So next slide. So what happens at STEP, right? So if you look, our certification levels start at associate and run all the way up to master. By the time a student completes STEP, they'll graduate at the certified level, which is one below master. They're more seasoned tech at that point, if you will. They're capable of working on most all repairs on the vehicle. They provide a great value to the dealership because this is basically for our dealers, it's a turnkey solution for them, right? We talk about, so in some cases, dealers want a turnkey solution. They don't have time to look at techs at a lower level and try and bring them up. So through STEP, we can provide them a technician that's really a turnkey operation. The nice thing is for the student, it's no cost to them. So they attend STEP for free and they get paid. And we also provide placement assistance upon graduation at one of our dealerships throughout the United States. Next slide. So what's required to get into the STEP program? Graduate from a post-secondary school with an automotive technology program, have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, 95% attendance or better, have a clean driving record to BMW standards, and be able to provide a work portfolio, as well as come to us having passed the ASE G1 professional test or passed the BMW ASE 1 test. Of course, that's at candidate's expense. And must be willing to relocate to possibly one of 400 BMW or Mini dealerships throughout the United States. So a little bit more. I'm sure, and if you're not aware, why do we look at a clean driving record? We emphasize this greatly with our students. When you get hired as a dealership, you're put on the dealership's liability insurance policy. So if a student or a candidate has a poor driving record, they may not be hireable. So What we want to do is we want to make sure that as we bring students in, they're ready to work once they graduate. And it's really important to emphasize too, that really the STEP program is a feeder program for our BMW dealerships for technicians. Next slide, Dale. So right now, and my apologies, we have 2 training programs in the United States for automotive STEP, one in Riverside in Ontario, California, and then one in Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey. Reason being, at this stage of the game, it's where the primary population of our dealers are on the East Coast and the West Coast. The good news is we do see students from all over the country who do go back to their home state and their home BMW dealerships. And why it works so well here, these are our biggest and most established workshops and training centers in the United States. So hence the 2 coast coverage. Next slide. So if you want to get a hold of me, us, you can go right onto the BMW STEP website. We're active on social media, constantly posting to different sites and encouraging students to come talk to us and see us. Yeah, well, I've gone through this program. One of the things we're talking about, and I'll explain a little bit more, how is STEP like or not like what we see, across the pond in Germany? STEP is really a hybrid to what's happening in Germany. The culture in Europe is a lot different than us in the United States, and Dale and I have had these conversations in the past. So we've developed what you would call somewhat like a hybrid model. It's not as long, it's intense, and the idea is to fulfill a workforce need at our dealerships. Most manufacturers will tell you today we're all looking for technicians at this point. So we believe right now that where we are with the hybrid model that we have with STEP, it's worked out very well, and the feedback from our dealers has actually been very good. They love the fact that they're getting a technician who can go to work almost immediately and occupy a work bay with very little oversight. So that's really the STEP program.
Great. Thank you so much. Laura, let me go and load up your presentation. And take her away.
Hey, thank you so much. So thanks so much, everybody, for coming today. I think the BMW STEP program is a fantastic program. We actually have an instructor who graduated from the BMW STEP program some years ago, and so she's a great asset to us and is sort of our European expert now, right? Because the European cars are a little special, right? So they do need a particular kind of training, especially if you're used to working on, American or Japanese vehicles. So again, thank you guys for coming. So our Nova Automotive Technology program, we do a wide range of things. And this is just a little picture from one of our, community events that we had a few years ago. But if we could skip down to the next active slide, that'd be great. And yeah, those are all hidden. I'm sorry, I should have sent this to you in a better format. Or I can share my screen if that works better. And so one of the premier programs that we have that we are modeling our global cooperative internship program after, which is a little bit closer to how BMW STEP operates, is the GM ASEP program. So that's a program we've been running with General Motors for decades, right? And you can walk into any GM dealer and there's just about everybody has, half of their shop filled with these GM graduates. And so we thought that this is a really successful model, but serving only GM dealers is not what Nova is about, right? So we have a broad community of automotive industry professionals and shops that we are looking to to serve, right? So if we could skip down several slides and just go straight to the continue on to the global co-op slide, that would be great. And so keep going, a few more. It'll say Global Cooperative Internship Program on there when we get there. Very good. Okay, and then one more slide, please. Should do it. Okay. So it's great we serve GM dealers, but really we need to serve BMW. We have Toyota on board, Subaru, and many other manufacturers as well. And we want to make sure that the students are able to find a home, because work is like a home, right? Like we spend a lot of time at work. We invest a lot of money. We invest a lot of time in the career field that we choose. So we want to make sure that the students are placed in a shop where they're going to be nurtured to grow and excel, right? And that may not be a GM dealer, right? It might be a BMW dealer. So we partner with WANADA, Washington Area New Auto Dealer Association, and they're the ones who put on the car show every year. And so they are one of our partners that we work with to place students in really any shop that the student is able to work in and any shop that is interested in employing them. So if we could go down another slide. Thank you. So the way that it works is, kind of similar, I think, to, BMW's idea of like, we really need hands-on real world training. Like there's only so much that we can do in the classroom. And so students are expected to come to school only one day a week to go over all of the fundamentals, to review what they're learning out there in the field, and, to make sure that they're prepped for ASE test prep, and meet all of our accreditation requirements, right? So we offer these very condensed, very accelerated courses, and they only have to come to school one day a week, and they earn a certificate over the course of 2 years. So they are part-time enrolled students, but that certificate does roll into the degree. So if they wanted to take extra classes to get that degree because they have, higher career ambitions for themselves in the future, then they're totally able to do that. And they can do that with any of our independent shops or WANADA affiliated dealers. So I think that it's a great model. We just started doing this about a couple semesters ago, and so it's really taking off because a lot of students, they don't want to take the English and the math. They don't see the practicality in it. A lot of our students in this area, they have to work. They don't have a choice because the cost of living is so high. So they need more work hours. So we are really trying to fulfill the students' needs. We're trying to fill our local employers' needs by offering this, this structured schedule. So we can go on another couple slides. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so the great thing about when dealerships partner with WANADA, WANADA does all the heavy lifting of recruiting new students, finding a job for them, and they actually assist in paying for the student's tuition. So the dealership only pays $1,000 a semester to have this student trained with us, and they get all of the perks of, student monitoring, tracking them, making sure everything's going okay. And so it's a great benefit. It's a win-win for the students and the dealers. The dealers seem to be really happy with this model. And so that's wonderful. So not all students who are in our Global Cooperative Internship Program are in the WANADA program. They don't have to be a WANADA student. They can just be a regular student. And as long as they are working in the field and that their employer understands what we're trying to do, the objectives we're trying to meet, and they're getting the same quality of education as the WANADA students with those same students. Okay, next slide, please. So currently these are our partners, but we're open to more, right? We believe that this is a program that is going to expand. So although, our main partners are like Toyota, Subaru, and we do some Ford web-based training, we believe that as this grows, we are hopeful that we'll have a European training path, we'll have a Japanese training path, and an American training path, just for ease of instruction, and just to help students get placed, and really hone in on those manufacturer specific requirements and credentials. Okay, next slide. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I know my name is really long. You can also email automotive@nvcc.edu, and that goes directly to my inbox. So that's probably a little easier than trying to type my email address. And we do also, this summer, actually, and every summer, I run the hybrid and electric vehicle course. We do that in a condensed accelerated format. We get a lot of technicians from the field, high school and college instructors, and if anyone, let's say any one group of industry members or instructors needed a 1-week boot camp or something of that nature, we can totally put that together, and run that during convenient times that are convenient for them. So that's it. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I know that I saw Tom Vaughn had a question early on, or raised his hand. Tom, you want to pose your question? I've unmuted you. Tom? Let me ask well, Tom fires up his question. Looking ahead to the future with the expectation that electric vehicles are going to become more and more part of the car fleet, I was wondering whether the three of you, starting with Bob and Laura and Chris, could share with you about the ways in which you expect the curricula to evolve with this curious new set of technical requirements that electric cars come with. My understanding is that they have fewer parts. The maintenance is much different than combustion or diesel cars. And I was wondering if we could just pivot back to this topic of electric vehicles, and how the training curricula for your respective programs is going to match the demand for what I expect will be a rise in electric vehicles in the next 5, 10, 15 years.
I think from the BMW perspective, right, the curricula will move more towards high voltage in EV diagnostic and repair. I think what you'll find is components are always going to be components. You're still going to have to change an AC compressor. You're still going to have to, work with brakes, tires, suspension. The curricula is going to move more towards computer diagnostics and almost, for lack of a better term, almost like a computer engineering degree. You're going to become, technicians will become, for the most part, electrical engineers by the time we're done training them on EV vehicles.
Laura?
Yeah, this is a topic I have to wrestle with on a regular basis. And honestly, my opinion sort of evolves and changes. So this past couple weeks ago, last month, I was able to go to San Francisco on a training conference and do the Tesla factory tour and talk with a lot of industry experts, all related to EV, ADAS, cybersecurity systems, right? So what the EV powertrain, which is only one of 3 major innovations that are coming up on vehicles, right? We have a lot of other things happening too. The way that will change is not a whole lot, in many respects. So when we're looking at, just like Bob was saying that, yeah, it's We're still looking at wiring diagrams. We're still looking at following a process and procedure. We still have a lot of the same components on vehicles, even though they might be networked a little bit differently. Modules and things will be hooked up to it. You have to do some pretty advanced diagnostic steps, and some of the repairs are a little bit dangerous, right? You need to learn how to use high voltage. As far as our curriculum is concerned, we embed 12-volt electricity and electronics into all of our classes already, because cars are already very advanced, and we've been shifting with the tides, for a very long time. So we just kind of continue to evolve in that same manner. The other thing is there's going to be an increase in electric vehicle technology, but I'm not exactly sure if there's ever going to be a 100% shift over to electric vehicles, because there are a lot of other technologies being developed at the moment. Hydrogen that can be burned by a regular internal combustion engine, regular more or less, right, as far as we understand it. And e-fuels, and there's a variety of innovations that are taking place right now. So we'll just kind of have to see how the chips fall, right? But as far as we're concerned, we just want to prepare students with those solid fundamentals, because those things are what's going to make a technician be able to evolve with the technology or not.
And Laura brings up, yep, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Oh, I would
Yeah,
say,
Laura,
go
yep,
ahead,
Chris,
Bob.
go ahead.
No,
No,
go
go ahead.
You go. All right. Yeah,
I was
Laura
going to say
brings
that.
All right, this is getting funny. Chris, go. I'm shutting up.
I was going to say that, I concur with what actually Bob and Laura had said. I think one of the things that we really are concerned about, especially with under 18 age students, is the high voltage and making sure that they learn the safety that's involved with that. When we were over in Germany, that was actually one of the first things that we saw when we were looking at some of the EV vehicles, is the safety equipment that was required for those vehicles. And so I think we in Arlington put a premium on the safety. And I think the other part that, that I think is again, really looking at electricity and how does that work, and really making sure that the students have a good foundation in that. And it will be kind of interesting. I mean, you look at how the cars have evolved from, 5-10 years ago to where they are now. It's going to be interesting to see, where they will become in 5 and 10 more years. And so how are we preparing students, like Laura was talking about, with the fundamentals so that they are able to kind of make that transition, and also understand that they're going to be a lifelong learner. So I think those are the things that we're doing. We were able to get a grant and then get a little electric vehicle that they put components on and take apart, year to year. So they're starting to see those components. It is all done in a safe manner. And again, it's just getting them used to and seeing that there's another, these newer technologies that are coming, that are being incorporated into the automotive industry. And I'll be quiet now and let Bob go ahead and talk.
So, just to go back to Laura's point, right? The core of the vehicle will always be the core of the vehicle. And core education is still very critical, whether it's taught, by Laura at her school or any other school that teaches automotive technology. The rate at which we see innovations in technology is absolutely mind-blowing. If you look at the next generation of BMW vehicles, and I'm not talking ICE as well as EV, there's going to be basically 4 super brains that run that car, right? So whereas you might have modules and control units now, there's going to be 4 supercomputers basically built into your vehicle, and it's to the point where you're going to have to learn something about computer systems, how to diagnose computer systems. And from a manufacturer's perspective, and I probably could speak for most of the manufacturers out there, there'll be diagnostic tools that will definitely aid and assist. But the one thing, back to Laura again, it still comes down to good old-fashioned automotive common sense. Being able to look at a repair plan that dead ends, but yet the vehicle's still not operating as specified, and being able to basically put on the old mechanic's hat and be able to still run a check down a wiring loom for a short that just doesn't seem to appear. So that core education is still critical, no matter how advanced and technological BMW can get. You still need someone who can go, oh, and follow a common thread to find the problem. So,
A participant asked, for the presenters, are your programs registered, either with the state apprenticeship agency or with the Department of Labor's Office of Apprenticeship? Why or why not? And then there's a follow-up question. Are the chambers of commerce in Germany involved in terms of the certification credentialing processes? I guess that's a question directly directed to you, Bob. And finally, how do you market, conduct outreach for your programs? I imagine that's directed to all three.
okay, so I get from the BMW perspective, because we are a private manufacturer, we are not registered with the Department of Labor or the DOE as an apprentice program. This is a BMW specific program. So not at this time, and I'm not sure if that's going to be something that'll be in the future for BMW. And what was the follow-up question to that?
The follow-up question is, why or why not?
Okay, so why or why not? Why not? Because we are a private corporation in the United States, and it is a corporate training program.
And then finally, how do you market, conduct outreach for your programs?
Okay, so marketing wise, I have 2 recruiters that go and meet directly with schools to talk about the program. We also reach out through our website, Facebook and Instagram, different industry events and partnerships like with ASE or Skills USA we're involved with. So we try to be out there as much as possible for the small team we are.
Yeah. Laura, you want to follow up on your program and the relationship to the 2 questions?
Yeah, sure thing. So it's my understanding, because I looked into being a registered apprenticeship program, and one of the requirements is that the student is not paying for school. So NOVA is not a registered apprenticeship program. However, WNATA is. So since they are paying for school and providing all of the requirements, then they are a registered apprenticeship program, and therefore they have access to a lot of grants and things of that nature. So that's great that we are working with someone who is a registered apprenticeship program. As far as outreach and recruitment, that is a tough one. So it's mostly faculty all faculty that goes out and does boots on the ground style recruiting. We have pretty good relationships with just about all of the instructors in Northern Virginia at the high school level, and a few instructors at the college level in Virginia and Maryland as well. And that can get pretty time consuming because we do have to teach as well. And so we come in and visit schools sort of by invitation only. So if a school asks us to come out, we will absolutely be there. And we're definitely there for the schools. We try to support the high schools as best as possible, be the big brother, the big sister type of thing. So if there's an accreditation meeting going on, we're there. Like, they can call us, one of us will be there for them. We also are trying to do a little bit better about being able to take in manufacturer donations and then disseminate them to high schools who want that. And that's both for our collision repair program and automotive technology. So yeah, marketing and recruiting, that's something that we're actually undergoing an expansion. So in the next 2 years, we're going to be doing a lot more marketing and recruiting once our renovations are done. And I think that was it, right, as far as the questions.
Yeah. Chris?
We don't have any registered apprenticeships specifically in the automotive area. We're just starting to dip our foot into that and what that looks like. We are and then as far as marketing, we have a lot of word of mouth with our students, and then we also do marketing on our website. And we also go out to the individual schools when they have their elective fairs and things like that, so that we can get the word out to them. You know, getting parents involved as well. We always struggle with how best to recruit to parents, but we are continuing to work on that. But those are kind of the main ways that we recruit, and we are, again, you know, looking at and dipping our toes into the apprenticeship, but we don't have one with the automotive at this point.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back some comments that were Bob raised and Laura as well, which is I had the impression that what you're describing for the future of motor vehicles, cars, is computers on wheels. And then you added, Bob, that basically looking ahead in a crystal ball, 10 years, the technicians with whom you're working are also going to be expected to have a very strong fundamental in electrical engineering, it sounded like. And I wanted to ask you, how fungible, looking ahead, is the skill set that, for instance, Chris's and Laura's programs at the high school community college level are starting to cultivate? How fungible would the skill set be for not just fixing, repairing, maybe even building electric vehicles and programming the cars? Is it something, and this is entirely Northern Virginia centric because of the large numbers of data centers, but is there a world which you could see in which the curricula of Laura and Chris developing for a VW, you know, the BMW electric vehicles, is a fungible skill that also might translate into something like repairing racks in a data center, or not?
Absolutely. I think if you look at technicians in our industry now, we do lose a fair amount of technicians to, say, like a Microsoft, you know, where they'll go into, server diagnostics and repair. They shift over to computer systems and repair. It's the type of skill that is transferable, I think, to almost anything that has to deal with data processing, managing systems, self-automated systems. This is something that I think we have to be very cognizant of moving forward. You know, what does our industry do to ensure we're keeping the best and brightest and not losing them to other industries, right? And really that comes down to the education of the individual dealer, right? Because almost every manufacturer in the United States is an independent franchise. So if you look at BMW, that's 425 independent business units operating as a franchise with BMW. So, and that's something BMW spends a lot of time on with the dealers, which is technician retention. Not so much on the recruiting side, retaining the talent you have. We can recruit them, but we've got to keep them. So we do programs like BMW Race Appreciation, where technicians can be nominated to serve on the pit crew of Rahal Letterman, Bimmer World, Random Vandals, some of the race crews out there, and they'll spend a week working side by side with the pit crew, working on race cars, which is kind of cool. The guys like it. You know, we have recognition programs, from clothing to vehicle purchase options, just something that we can do as a manufacturer to try and keep that talent at the dealer level. But it does really come down to 425 dealers that are willing to do the right thing by their technicians.
Laura, you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, I mean, we see the same thing. So a few years ago, we had Micron, the chip manufacturer, actively recruiting our students because they didn't have a mechatronics program at Nova. And so once Nova figured out that, oh, mechatronics is a thing, and and we have a whole industry that needs these, people. They basically created a separate program just for Micron, but they still take our students. And so what I try to tell people is that when you're working on a car, you're working on just about every system that's out there, right? So a plumber is only working on plumbing, maybe a little bit of electrical, but they probably won't touch it, right? So an electrician only does electrical work. an HVAC technician does probably a little bit of electrical, right? But it's really, you know, AC based, right? And some controls there as well. So they are a little bit more high tech than some of the other trades. But we deal with everything. We deal with hydraulics, we have HVAC, we have mechanical nuts and bolts stuff. We have a lot of electrical, the highest level electrical, electronic stuff that anybody touches on a regular basis. That's your car. It's not your laptop, right? So, I mean, as far as a transferable skill set goes, there's really nothing better than automotive that will give that to you. I had a student who was like a receptionist at a hospital. And once he finished my electricity 2 course, he ended up repairing medical equipment. So like really, you know, like you can really do a lot of stuff. It almost makes me think of rebranding our program as like just general STEM. Maybe not to that extent, right? But we could sort of. And I'm even working on a grant piece where we are working with several high schools to launch basically a STEM curriculum, but based around automotive, because all the things that you need and want are right there on a car. So,
Chris?
We've had a number of different businesses come in and kind of really they're looking for mechanical aptitude, right? And so can they use the tools? Do they have that thought process of kind of going through a problem solving loop to figure out, what's going on with different systems in the car? So yeah, I think, I mean, I see, the automotive as both Bob and Laura have said is, there's so many different systems on the car that you can transfer somebody into or take that knowledge that they have and then transfer it over into some of the other areas probably fairly seamlessly. So I see that, and I also see all the different areas that are looking for employment at this time. And if we look at the students and where they're going and our workforce and seeing that they're getting older and older and toward retirement, I think we'll probably continue to see that poaching, if you will, and hopefully we'll be able to, by some of the things that the businesses do to kind of keep people kind of connected to that original business that they started.
Yeah. I see no further questions in the question and answer. Barbara, Brandon, Dale, David, Matthew, Fee, Sarah, Stefan, Tim, Xavier. Would you like to be unmuted, pose your own questions? Otherwise, I think we'll call it a day, turn everyone early over to lunch, unless there is a burning desire to. No, I don't see any. I just want to say, Chris, Laura, Bob, thank you so much for taking time. This video will be recorded. The presentations will be posted on our homepage. And I look forward to staying engaged with you. This is a process of with a long-term perspective, and I can imagine that in a year or two, we'll be doing something equivalent, following up on all the things that we talked about and the things that we learned. Just want to say again, thank you very much for your time. Have a great afternoon.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
here, thank you.